Hello, 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 what-oh! Welcome back to another exciting adventure of The Plain Truth. I'm your host, Travis Finley. I thought that was just a good place to jump in and get the party started. So we're just watching a nice little video right here until Critical Zoom joins the link. This has got some great contrast right here. Let's go back a little bit. Let's go back. There it is. There's the doorbell. Let me get that doorbell. The doorbell just rang. Are you there? Can you hear me? So sometimes the guest... There, I can hear you now.
Okay. I'm just checking my microphone and everything.
Yeah, I've got good register on you over here.
Right.
So, right. So, can we be on first name bases, or do you still want to go by Critical Think, or...
Yes, just critical thing. I don't want to broadcast my first name at this point.
Okay. All right. Well, feel free to call me Travis. You don't have to call me the plain truth. Yeah. So welcome to the show. This is the first live edition of 3 o'clock high. I probably should have. Well, I just don't have the time. I probably could have put together a nice little intro with some Western style music and whatnot. But welcome to the show. I appreciate you coming on. And for everybody out there in the chat, Nicholas Brown, Good Servant, Ali B's out there, Amanda Young, welcome Smurfs. Make sure you hit that Fonzarelli and share the show. And yeah, so we have had some back and forths on chat in comment boxes in your video. So I wanted to just invite you to my channel or your channel, whichever it was, and we decided this platform. So do you have anything that you want to start off talking about, or should I just pull up something, and what do you want to do?
Yes. Well, you can start. You can start if you like. We'll see where that goes. I can share something here. Can I at some stage?
Yeah, if you want, you've got your Zoom browser that you should be able to go down to the bottom, and there should be right in the middle a share tab for you.
Right. I've got a. I'll wait and I'll wait. I'll let you start.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, I don't have anything planned necessarily. I can pull up your video that I downloaded, and we can just kind of go from
All right.
there. We can just talk a little bit about where is your video? There it is.
Just one of those pictures there. I'd just like you to talk about the picture of the ship, the container ship, which is very well over the curve there.
Are you
Um,
trying to share something, or do you want me to pull something up? I don't see anything right now.
yeah, I'm just trying to. I'll try. I'll see if I haven't got it. I haven't got that particular picture ready. I'm getting it,
Okay.
but I'll see if I can make this work. Hang on a minute. Right.
Ali B, what the Smurf is going on here? Just having a mid-afternoon chat with Critical Think. I can jump over real quick and maybe find his channel and then share that link for you guys. while he gets himself squared away, I think he's looking for a couple of photographs that we can look at and talk about. So if you guys just want to hang tight, appreciate that. And let's see, while I'm looking this up. I don't know why my history's not coming up. Or I can pull up your channel. Huh, that's weird. So, are you able to multitask at all? Why don't you maybe just introduce yourself to us as best you feel comfortable? Let us know maybe what got you started in this whole discussion, and maybe a background that gives you a particular interest or perspective that you can contribute to the conversation.
Okay. What brought me to this particular discussion with you, do you mean, or the flat Earth discussion in general?
Yeah, the flat Earth discussion in general, yeah.
I stumbled upon it by accident at some stage about a couple of years ago, and I thought, well, how could this possibly be? How could anyone possibly believe in a flat Earth? So I looked at what was being touted as flat Earth evidence, and it was a load of bollocks, really. So I thought I can't have this stuff being put out there without some common sense being put there to counteract it. So that's why I started my channel.
So, was there anything at all that you felt like made sense in terms of arguments that you heard, even though you knew that your commitment to the heliocentric model was where you were going to stay in your commitment? But was there anything from the flat Earth side, even if you disagreed with it, was there anything that you thought, that totally makes sense, I get where they're coming from?
Oh, not really. There have been some things over time that required a little bit of investigation to work out, well, why is the world work like that? And many of the ones, because most of the flat Earth is based on, we see too far in observations over water. And sometimes it's a bit challenging to analyse them correctly and come up with the real truth. But you just can't look at it. You just can't look at it and say the Earth's flat. I'm trying to just get myself organised here with a picture.
Yeah, that's fine. Take your time. That's okay.
Yes, I got to get my chat window back up again. Hang on a minute.
Just a quick shout out to Nicholas Brown. Thank you so much for that super chat. I do appreciate that, Nicholas. Thanks so much. Yeah, so just to let you know, I'm just going to call you CT. All right, Critical Think CT.
Yeah, that's fine.
I did do a premiere in the 2 o'clock hour, an hour ago. I did a premiere that analyzed a bit of your footage and MC the MC1. He did footage as well. And so later on, if you want to go back and check that out, I thought I put together a pretty decent compilation of something to consider. But yeah, one of the things that I find that I guess I would say is disingenuous is that the question that I put to you was, is there anything that makes sense on just a basic level? And I think that if someone says no, there's nothing that makes sense about someone saying that the Earth is flat. To me, I think that that's just a completely, absolutely dishonest response, because the simplicity of the argument, even if there's disagreement in terms of the conclusion, the argument is very simple, is very logical, it's very straightforward. I feel like a lot of the activity that I've had with streams and channels is that those opponents that I interact with, to me it seems like they just do not want to consider the alternative, and for whatever it's worth, to me I think that that's dishonest. I've said it before, and I'll just reiterate it here. I would rather someone like you say, yeah, Travis, what you're saying totally makes sense. I hear what you're saying. That makes absolute sense, but I disagree because of X, Y, and Z. I have more respect, and I haven't actually had anybody say that yet. I have more respect for that response than absolutely not. There is nothing. There is absolutely, when I hear ballers say there is absolutely no evidence for flat Earth, I absolutely know that they are just incapable of looking at anything objectively, because that's the most. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like a chance to talk here.
Sure, yeah, no problem, man. I was giving you a chance. Yeah, no. You said you had to get set up, so I was just monologuing.
Yeah. So what you say, to me, all right, you describe flat earthers to me exactly when you say that, but flat earthers have an emotional attachment. They need the earth to be flat and don't listen to good evidence. And you say, well, what makes sense to me? Look, the only thing that makes sense is you go outside and you look at the beach or water for something, and you can say it looks flat to me, right? That's the only thing I can say. Yes, it certainly does look flat until you look closer. And the flat earthers just stop at it looks flat to me, and then they start to create things in their mind that don't really exist. All the evidence points to globe. Much of this, there's really no real evidence for flat Earth other than observations over water, which, because of refraction, cause the Earth to look flat.
That's because it is flat.
Well, you say that, but I don't know how you arrive at that illogical conclusion.
Well, that goes all the way back to simply starting with particular. I mean, the conversation is all encompassing. It's not just. That's why, for certain videos that get presented, it's not just a one and done proof, right? So, and I'll pick on the MC1. So he shows this freighter that is behind another freighter out off of South Wales. Have you seen that video yet? Do you know the one I'm talking about? Okay.
I think I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah, it's a cargo ship, and it's cut in half, and that's a one and done, right? So he has an image of something that appears to cut itself in half, or not? It's cut in half, and so the immediate interpretation is X, Y, or Z. And to bring it back, I think, to your video where you talk about the fact that you don't go back and shoot again.
I never said that. I said I do go back and shoot again.
No, but
I just did.
I'm just talking about the video that you put out. For that video.
Yeah, I did not say I don't go back and shoot again. I just wanted to make that clear.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. I appreciate that. I meant.
Got that picture, but you
can
change.
Oh, I see. Oh, no, that's fine. That's fine. We'll jump on. We'll jump on the topic that you've got going on. So you've got the screen share right now. Okay. Yep. Okay.
I think need to get one more window up here. But yeah, you can see that. That's being shared at the moment, I think, is it? Yeah. Yeah, well, I can see it now, yes. Okay, so what's your take on that picture? That's what I want to know.
Well, based on my observations, I understand that the refraction that is in the air, even though we cannot point to an inferior mirage in any definitive way on the horizon, what I understand about refraction in the observations that I've made is that the water is being refracted up. That is, it is a mirage, even though there's not a mirrored image. And the ship's distance to the horizon is hidden behind what you would, I'm sure, consider a very narrow degree of angling view. And if we could zoom in, I would bet money that there is an inferior mirage there, but because of the clarity of the image, I don't think that we're going to be able to see one very well. But do you have information on this in terms of...
Mooloolaba, I think it was, or I think it was Mooloolaba, yes, on the Sunshine Coast. Now, the thing is, you say that refraction is somehow doing this. I'd like to know, how does it do that? How does the refraction make the water come up but the ship stay down?
You know, I think that we have that kind of difficulty in describing how refraction does anything. I'm not convinced that the descriptions for refraction that we can look up on any website or EDU site is actually adequate. I think that we can guess and try to describe what we see as best as possible, but my default explanation for what refraction is that it simply distorts the image, and that all depends on your viewer height, the distance to the object, the distance the object is from the horizon. And so we have multiple images like this. The Skunk Bay footage, I don't know if you've watched the Skunk Bay time lapse, where the water ends up covering the entire opposite shoreline. The opposite shoreline is entirely covered by the water being refracted up. And just the other day on Jose JG's channel with Dean, he comfortably said that he was amazed to see that the shoreline could be blocked by the refraction of the water being lifted up. So the water is being lifted up. I can show you if I'm going to take away the screen share and then show you the image that I have on mine right here. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. So this is why I go back to the same observation over and over again, because I can easily frame this picture every single time, because I've got the channel marker and then I've got the cape that is on the left side. So I have the cape, the far distant shoreline, and then the channel marker. And you can see here with the top, it's the same. Again, I'm set up in the same location every single time, so I've got the same focal or the same viewer height and the same distance to all of these viewing points. The top two frames or panels are 250 millimeter, and you can clearly see that the water is raised up on the right. And
there's no arguing with the fact that you can get different results on different days. The refraction is different on different days. It's not an argument for us. We acknowledge that.
I'm trying to address but I'm trying to address your question as to how the water can be raised up, and I'm showing you an image.
No. My question was not how can the water be raised up and the ship not.
That's because you're looking at different distances. The water is at it's closer to you. That ship is farther away from you, so it's going to be it's going to be in the band. So just like over here to the right, if you see this yellow rectangle, we see this yellow rectangle. We've got these images of these little vertical dashes. Okay, those more than likely, if we could zoom in, more than likely that is an inferior mirage of two fishermen on a boat. Well, we don't see the boat. We just see the tops of their bodies miraged on one another. So where's the boat? The boat is above the horizon. The boat is behind the vanishing line. It is in the band, and it is lower than your ability to resolve it, and so there is a physical boat there that they are standing on. So that's why I call it dancing with refraction and perspective, is because both of those things together affect how we're going to view the objects that are in the distance.
You can forget a couple of fishermen in a boat, right? They're too small. There are too many atmospheric effects which can allow you to say, yes, it's hiding behind that little bit of turbulent air or inferior mirage or something. But what about the ship? You're ignoring the ship.
No, I'm not.
It's not the same. That's a big ship.
Okay.
That's a big ship. Have you worked out how much refraction needed to do what you do? How would the refraction work? Trace the light rays. How would it work? That's
right.
If without the how, you have really just you making some words and talking. That's not really any evidence. You need to work out how.
Yeah, and my criticism would be simply because you think you can describe what you think is going on there. You can't prove it. You can only describe it. But again, please don't miss the forest for the trees. I've said this from the beginning when I started to publish my material, is that what I am trying to put forward is that what happens on a small scale, like you just said, oh, you can't really consider these fishermen. No, you need to. Because
no, you should not. Because this is not a small scale. This is a very big scale. Those fishermen are very, very small.
Yes. Okay.
You look at the ship, right?
Great.
That's something big. You need to look. I really don't. I really think it's silly with people looking at small boats and fishermen on the water. They are easily lost in the waves. They are easily lost.
Yeah, we don't have that here right now, CT. Yeah, we don't have that here right now, CT. Okay, so.
But I've got it here in my pictures.
Okay, great. Hold on. What I mean is, we don't have waves here. These fishermen are not lost in the waves; they are lost in the band. Okay, so now let's go down to the bottom two panels there. Okay, because this is going to get your scale for your ship. All right. So if you see there to the left of the channel marker, there is a house. You see my
yeah.
Okay, so below that house is physical land. Okay, so that's the shoreline. So that physical land has physical depth and height. So this house is probably a if I found other if I found other images, more than likely it's a 2-story house. Okay, so I would be comfortable in saying that this is the top of this house is, I'd say 50 feet off the shoreline. Okay, taking into account both the land that it's sitting on, as well as the physical height of the house. Okay, now if you go straight up to the frame above it, the house is gone. So my point is that this is answering your question about your ship, because this has 60 feet of physical geography swallowed into the band, and it's right there above you in the frame above. So the degree that you're looking at out into the distance right here, I don't have to quantify that. Somebody else can crunch those numbers. I'm not going to do it. I can show you right here that that house has been swallowed up by refraction.
Okay, without knowing that, see, you've got a quite a big band up there up the top. I have to acknowledge that, but without knowing exactly how that band is formed. For instance, I could say, and that most of that is just reflection off the water. I could say that, right? You don't know. In fact, I've seen boats floating on that band. So for you to say that there's a house, it's still obstructed. The house is still obstructed. If that is in fact water, the house is still behind the water, not
no, that's not physical water that it's behind. That water has been refracted up. Okay.
No, well, it's all physical. Whether it's refracted or not is just an apparent position of a physical object. So there's only a top little piece of that band that's not water. Now, you've just, again, you showed me 2 different pictures on 2 different days.
Right.
Then, all right, I've gone on one time, one day, I decrease my height, and the ship disappears bottom up. What causes that?
Refraction.
Well, how can it do that? You can just say, I could say, like I said in my video, I could say chocolate cake. I mean, it's the exact same thing. Unless you can show how or why,
I don't
it
have to.
means nothing.
No, I don't have to show how or why. You are making you're making an observation, and so the observation again. I so instead of in these panels again, I'm set up in the exact same location. Okay, so look at the bottom right panel. Look how low the water is setting. But I've
But
got
the
it.
tides come in, tides come out.
No. That is
Refraction's different on
okay.
different
Okay,
days.
listen.
That is not
Okay.
addressing my height versus
Okay.
visibility. That's not addressing
Yes,
it.
it is. Listen, please. Listen, please. If it was simply tidal, right? You suggested that the tide is low. The tide is low. The tide is not going to lower this cape right here. See this cape? This should be at the same height as this right here, but it's not. There's no way that this physical cape has dropped. The land in the background is smaller. You can see it looks farther away and it's dropped. This is all refraction, everything here. Okay? I shoot here for 2 years. The tide is 2 to 3 feet. 2 to 3 feet. That is not going to... And what that would do is, if you're going to say, well, the tide is low. Okay, well, when the tide's high, it's only 3 feet. That's not going to cover the top left frame. That's not 3 feet of tide. That's all refraction. So if you want to take down this 214 millimeter, this very bottom right panel, right? Let's take this as the extreme. This looks like, to me, this is the way I describe it. This looks like I am higher up and farther away from this image. And then at the top left, that's the other extreme. That looks like I'm very close to the water. I'm not. So refraction is accomplishing what you can do yourself at times by lowering your perspective. You can create this phenomenon too by lowering your camera, but sometimes the index of refraction in the air does it for you, and you're in the same location. That's why.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So your index of refraction can change, and it can raise and lower the horizon, but only by a little bit. It cannot, like,
what does a little bit even mean?
Like the normal day refraction is 0.5 degrees.
Can you show me a picture of what that normal day refraction looks like, please?
It's no, because I haven't measured it. I don't know how to measure refraction on a particular day.
Let me just let you know.
But what I'm saying to you is, what I'm saying to you, people have measured it, and I can show. I actually can show if I can find the picture. But the thing is, right, these are small amounts that the horizon goes up, horizon goes down, and sometimes it's a little bit more extreme. But these are unusual days.
They're not. They're not. This happens all the time. This happens all the time.
Sometimes, yes, but you're not showing anything that you're not putting your camera up and down on the same day.
What do you mean? Okay, hold on. What do you mean? I'm not putting my. You mean I'm not raising or lowering my viewer height on those days?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. That's
these
because
these are all different days.
That's because that's not my point. My point is to.
That is my point.
Okay, well then that's great. That's great. Then you can make your point. But what I'm showing here is that my question is, what is obstructing this house at the bottom right here? Okay, we can see the house, we can see the shoreline. What is causing the obstruction in the top two panels when we can't see it?
When you can, which picture you're talking?
Well, the top the top two, both of the top two panels, both of the top two panels do not show us the houses or the shoreline. So either one, if you want to pick either one of those.
Right. So the curvature of the Earth is the answer.
Okay. So where's the curvature of the Earth down in the 214 down in the bottom right panel? Where'd it go?
Well, it's there. It's that is one of the days when the refractive index is very high.
No, this is the bottom right is when the refractive index is very low because I can see farther.
Oh well, whichever way you want to switch it, you know what I mean. You can see further. That's because of refraction on that day.
Right, right. So the obstruction is not Earth curve because I don't change my viewer height.
But the obstruction is Earth curve because in the lower picture there, the refraction causes the light to bend, and it bends in a downward direction, causing the images in the distance to be raised up. That's just normal. That's just what's happening.
Right.
On some days it's worse than others.
Yeah, that's your story that you have bought into, that light bends down and presents something as if it's raised up. Okay, that is simply a story that you can only diagram. You cannot prove or demonstrate that scientifically in the real world. You can draw me a picture of it. You can give me a sideline orthographic view, just like you did in your video. But that does not happen in real life. The reason why...
Well, hang on a minute. Yes, it does. You're discounting all the science that's been done, which shows that the refraction is dependent on the density gradient. The density gradient is scientifically measured and easily calculated to be a positive gradient causing that kind of refraction. In order to get a negative gradient to cause light to bend upwards, you need... It does happen, that's why you get an inferior mirage. You get water vapor on the surface and temperature inversions, and then that causes refraction to go the other way. But the normal refraction is downwards.
Yeah, that is a nice story that you can only produce on paper. You cannot...
No, it's measured in the real world.
Yeah, okay, well, I haven't seen it yet. I've been asking for it. So if anybody out there can show us not a laser in a fish tank, okay, that's not what I'm asking for.
But the laser in the fish tank is an example of a density gradient that shows that light bends downwards. The atmosphere has the same density gradient. Why
That's a nice claim. That's a nice claim.
No, it's not a claim.
Can you
It's not a claim. This is science.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes, I can prove.
Okay.
You can go down to the beach, you measure the air pressure. You go up to the top of a mountain, you measure the air pressure. The pressure is higher at the beach. The air is denser. That's a density gradient.
Yeah. I'm sure that you can measure that density gradient, but you can't demonstrate what light is doing in that density gradient.
Yes, that's science. It's well-known science.
Okay,
the same as the fish tank. There's a density gradient in the fish tank.
Don't misunderstand.
Right? The light curves. So the density gradient in the air is more spread out, but it's the same. Light curves downwards.
That laser beam in that fish tank bends downward. You can't demonstrate that with daylight.
What's the difference between laser and daylight?
You're asking me?
Yeah, because you made a claim there. It's not the same. So what's the difference?
Well, a laser is a concentrated point of light that is more intense than what we see outside. I don't see laser beams outside. I just see daylight.
So what are you trying to say here? This is incredible. You're trying to say that light doesn't bend and refract now. Is that what you're trying to say?
No.
I don't understand.
Great. Okay. I appreciate
a laser beam is light.
I was trying to answer you.
A laser beam is light. It works exactly the same way as any other light, whether it's daylight or not. It still bends the same way, follows the same rules.
Great. Can you show me daylight bending, please?
You're looking at it every day. Look there on your pictures. You see it. Look, you just said refraction. That's daylight bending.
Yeah, it goes in every direction. It's 360 degrees.
No.
The
horizon remains flat and it goes up and down. That's daylight bending in a particular direction.
Daylight does not shoot out in a straight beam like a laser beam. They are not the same.
Of course it does. You just don't know. You just don't. But when you
show me
light,
can you
yes,
show
I
me?
Can.
You can show me daylight.
Yes.
You can show me daylight looking like a laser beam.
Yes, you see that. You see. Look at that picture there. Your bottom right picture, right? It has a little light on the top of the beacon.
Yep.
Now that light's traveling straight, right? Each part of that beacon is light. If it wasn't traveling straight, you wouldn't be able to make out. Even the beacon wouldn't be able to make it out. Every part of the light on that beacon there is traveling straight, more or less. I mean, that's how you know.
Yeah,
because the air moves around. and you get turbulence in the air, and it causes some parts to bend. But you can see that buoy, you can see the green,
Correct.
you can make out its details. If the light was bending all over the place, you wouldn't be able to make that out.
No, that's exactly what is happening. That's why I can see it. That's why when you have different different clarity on different days, like say the top left, you can see the top left where the channel marker is a little bit more blurry, whether or not that's camera focus or not. But that's I mean, if you even just look at the difference in the topography on each of those panels, you have different different textures with how the light is or how the daylight is presenting the image to itself. But see, I'm not going to say that light is traveling in a straight line, because I can't prove that. I can't. All I can do is show you this image and say that this image is showing us refraction, because those houses in the distance aren't as clear as the buoy, as the channel marker that is closest to us. That one that's closest to us has more clarity to it because it's closer to us, and the density gradient between me and that marker is less than the density gradient that is between me and that house. So you're the one making the claim that light bends or travels in straight lines, and I'm simply asking you to show me, just like a laser, right? So you can show me a laser beam in a fish tank with sugar water. That's no problem. You can show that to me, no problem. You can't do that with daylight.
But yes, you can. You can't shine it in like a laser so that you can see it. But as you look in your pictures, that's daylight behaving in exactly the same way.
You can't prove that.
Well, yes. If you had some analysis, of course, you can't prove it to a flat earther. Of course not.
No. There's no need to sling mud. There's no need to sling mud. I'm simply saying, again, you're making a claim that light is doing something, and all you can do.
No. The light is. How else would you see that picture like you see? I'm just going to say, in the bottom right, you can see the house, and the water line is straight across. In the top right, the water line is higher. It's still straight across. So the density gradient is vertical, not horizontal. So therefore,
can you show me the density gradient being vertical and not horizontal, please?
It's because that's how the image gets to be like that. Because yes, you can. The density gradient is vertical because as you go higher in height, the air pressure decreases. That's what makes it vertical. Yeah. And you notice that things don't bend sideways. They only ever go up and down, and it's very rare that you see something bend sideways.
That's what the distortion is. So can you see that image on the very far left?
I mean compression sideways, a general compression sideways. You don't see it. You don't see that.
Yeah, I can show you. Yeah, I can show you.
I'm sure maybe you can come up with an example, but you don't generally see it.
That doesn't mean that it's discounted. Okay, you started off by saying you don't see horizontal density gradients. Yes, you do. That's why when I'm talking about my images, I say that the Aether band.
Show me one. Show me a horizontal density gradient.
You're looking at it. The Aether band is 360 degrees. It's a three-dimensional image, or it's a three-dimensional phenomenon. It happens in height, width, and depth, and that is simply if you just look at, again, if I show you different images of the houses that I've gotten images of, you can see that the house is different sizes. Give me 1 second. All right.
So far, all you've ever said to me really is, "Oh, prove this, prove that, prove that." Yet you've proved nothing yourself.
That's okay. I'm providing evidence that we can use to consider.
But that's evidence for the globe. You don't understand that.
No, I do understand it. You don't understand that it's evidence of flat Earth. So here we go.
Well, it's not, because you've not proved anything.
Okay.
Right? You've not
Right.
proved anything. You just
Okay.
showed me some pictures.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do right now is offer you a proof that this house here is three-dimensionally a different size than this house over here. This house over here is magnified, and it's distorted more than this house over here. But this house and this house are both shot from the same location, same focal length. The only thing that's changed, and including that, look at the antenna here at the top left. You see how long this antenna is right here? The Aether band is three-dimensional. Height, breadth, and distance. Okay?
So all you've shown there is that there is refraction conditions in the air.
You just asked me to show you a horizontal.
That does not show me that's not horizontal.
Yes,
that's
it is.
Vertical.
No, it's
how is it horizontal?
Because
show
the
me how it's
house.
horizontal.
Okay, the house has width. It goes across. If you want to call it lateral or whatever, vertical is height, right? Vertical is height. Horizontal is width. Okay, I can show you image after image of this house taken from the same location again, and it's not the same size. That's because refraction is three-dimensional, not just vertical.
That's right. All right. The air does move around, but the primary gradient is vertical. That's it.
Okay.
Air can move around, but what we always see is a vertical gradient.
That's absolutely false.
You can show that.
Absolutely
yes.
false.
Well, on this, let's look at my picture of the ship.
Okay. I'll go back. Hold on. I'll go back to sharing the screen so we can do that real quick. Okay. I'm not sharing anymore. So if you want to share.
So, see how that ship, the gradient is vertical because the bottom of the ship's missing, but the sides are still there.
No, those shipping containers and everything else in there is affected by refraction as well. It's not just vertical; it's every direction.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is a little bit affected by refraction in the horizontal, just a tiny bit. But
can you show me the tiny bit?
Ship.
Can you show me the tiny bit, please?
What does that mean? You can look at you cannot read the writing on the container.
Okay, so again, it seems like we're just splitting hairs right now because you started.
No, we're not. Look at this. There's half a ship missing. Half a ship. The other half, the horizontal, the side to side, all the ship is still there.
Okay,
that's not splitting a hair.
Okay, no. What I meant was, if you would have let me finish my sentence, is that you started out by saying that refraction, and you were pretty adamant, you started out by saying that refraction is only vertical. So I then went about to show you images that I have that show that it's actually three-dimensional. And now you're like, oh, a little bit. So that's what I meant by splitting hairs, okay?
Yes,
so
but you are splitting hairs too, because you want to take this little bit of horizontal refraction and, like I said, see in that picture, you're ignoring the complete bottom of the hull missing. And
I'm not ignoring it. No, I'm not.
You want to argue about just a little bit, maybe side to side. I don't know. I can't even see it in that picture.
I'm not ignoring anything.
But there's half a ship missing, and you're ignoring it.
No. Okay. I am not ignoring it. Okay. I have a perfectly viable explanation for what's going on. Okay.
But no, you don't. You haven't had any viable explanation at all.
Actually, I have, because all you're doing right now is making a hand wave dismissal, and I'm going to make a hand wave admission. Yes, I have.
Well, that's no good. You need
your
to
hand wave
apply
dismissal. Your hand wave dismissal is no good either.
You need to apply the same burden of evidence to yourself as you do to anybody else.
Okay,
now,
I have.
Show me how that works.
I have shown you 4 different panels.
No.
Don't tell me no. Don't tell me no.
Yes, okay. I will. That no. That shows me nothing. I want to know.
It does show you
this
something.
Picture. It shows me refraction works different on different days. Now,
That's
show
right.
me how this particular ship The bottom of it is disappeared. Show me how that works, exactly how that works.
You can't.
Well, there you go. You have no case.
No, that's not true. Just simply because, see, that's the difference between your world and my world. In my world, we're satisfied with simple descriptions when it only requires us to have simple descriptions. If we want to get specific and do more scientific investigation, then that's going to call for more data. Of course, those kinds of situations happen, right? But in situations like this in general, we can make general observations. Now, again, I said this before with this image. This image is very milky. Okay, I'm not knocking your photography skills whatsoever, but the image itself is not going to allow us to zoom in on the horizon to be able to see what's going on there if there is refraction, or I'm sorry, if there is an inferior mirage going on. But what I do know about images like this is that at that very small degree, there are inferior mirages that happen at that particular angle. Now, the other thing that I would say, again, because this is just one image, okay, CT, this is just one image. The one thing that I pointed out in my video earlier when I did the premiere was that the top part of the boat, I would say, is magnified. Okay, so you've got refraction going on there. Now, the only way that I can say that is to have something as a contrast, and we just don't have that. That's why I spent 17 days in California shooting the same islands over and over and over again, trying to get things to use as controls and variables and standards. So the thing that's happening right here is that we don't know where this horizon is. Okay, you don't know how far away it is, nor do you know how far away this boat is, or this ship is from the horizon. Okay, because you don't know that, you, I don't think, have the ability to say anything about this in terms of curvature. Now, the one thing that I do have in my favor when we're talking about this stuff is that the simple explanation for seeing what we see in the 4 panels that I showed is that we are seeing farther over a flat plane. There's no complication of light bending up over a curve and bringing this image over, exactly where it needs to be. I don't have to have any of that complication in terms of making light behave in a certain way. It's very simple. When I can see the opposite shoreline, there's less refraction in the air. When I cannot see the opposite shoreline, there's more refraction, and therefore the obstruction, that is what is prohibiting me from seeing farther, is always refraction. Because otherwise, your explanation in the 4 panels, you could say in each of them, there's the curve, there's the curve, there's the curve, there's the curve. But the curve,
of course,
hold on, the curve is in a different location each time.
It's the appearance of the horizon can go up and down. But the thing is, I figured out where you're going wrong. Your hypothesis that you've just given there depends on refraction, bending light in the opposite direction.
Light.
So light
goes everywhere. It goes in every direction.
No. Let me finish here. If you say that your bottom right picture is, it's the Earth is flat, I can see all the way to there, and then you say your top right picture is, that means refraction is refracting that distance thing down, then that's refraction is working to the opposite way.
I didn't say it's refracting it down. I didn't say it's refracting.
Well, it has to, otherwise how can it appear to go down in the distance if it's the horizon? If it goes below the horizon, it's going down relative to the horizon. Is that right?
Well, you're bringing up something that I hadn't necessarily thought of before, but I think that brings into the discussion perspective. So you're simply, I think that those four panels that I showed. Let me pull those up real quick just so that we have something to...
The thing is that how does the horizon form in the first place?
It's the... So the horizon that we see right here in this image, that line is created by the refractive index.
How does it do that? Have you ever explained to anyone how that actually happens? Because on a flat Earth, that can't happen.
Okay, I always find it interesting when people say on a flat Earth that can't happen, as if you know what happens on a flat Earth. Okay, so the thing is that we are both looking at the same observation, and we are trying, we're trying to explain that observation according to our understanding of our world. So in the bottom two panels, the only horizon in the bottom left panel is the topography of the land 9+ miles away. That's the horizon. There is no horizon on the water there because the water goes all the way over to the other shoreline. So what creates this line of water here in the top left? Where'd this come from?
Yeah, that's right. That's my question. What creates
It's refraction. It magnifies.
Well, how does it do that? I can just say chocolate cake.
No, Kate. Chocolate cake is not the term that we use for how we see things through the medium of air. Okay, we are talking about refraction, not chocolate cake. This is a...
But it means just the same thing. It's just
no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
It's just a buzzword you're using without understanding how it works.
It magnifies.
You're not showing how the magnification works. What is the physical manifestation?
I'm showing you a picture. I'm showing you a picture.
That's not a description of how it works. That's just
describing it.
You're interpreting.
You ready?
You're describing it. You're not showing how it works.
Okay. What do you mean by showing how it works?
Well, why on a flat surface? Why can you not see? Why can you even see the horizon? You need to make some kind of model or something.
No, I don't.
Physically,
I don't have
yes,
to make a model. No, I don't.
Well, why? Why don't you have to make a model?
Because, okay, here it is. Ready? Because our model is the world itself. We go out and we make the observation, and that is what we analyze.
That's not a model.
I cannot. Well, then there's no other word for it. I tried to make the segue into answering your question. Where's your model? Okay, so here's the other way that I've said it. I don't need a model because I have the world. I can show you what happens in real life. In each of these.
Let me ask you a question. If you were to say, just say, for example, you did not know if the world was flat or round, how would you work out, without assuming one or the other, how would you conduct an experiment to work out that for sure that it's flat or round?
I don't think that I would feel the need to do that. I would just go about my life making...
That's not my question.
Okay, yeah, I'm answering your question. I wouldn't...
No, that's not the answer. I want to know how...
I don't care if you are happy with the answer.
Not whether you want to or not. My question is, if you were to, let's do an experiment to work out if the Earth is flat or round, what would you do?
I would operate on the understanding that when I see something, it's because it's in front of me. That's the easiest explanation. That channel marker is in front of me. The wake from that boat that just passed on the bottom left, that is in front of me. Farther out, those different contours of the color of the water, that's in front of me. The house that's there in the far distance, that's right in front of me. And the tree line and the topography behind it is right in front of me. That's it.
Well, I don't really hear anything there that would allow me to determine that the Earth is flat or round.
Okay, so then my understanding of what water does, if you were standing on the other shoreline of the Chesapeake Bay here, and we flashed lights at each other, your feet were in the water, my feet were in the water, we are on the same horizontal plane. Your feet and my feet are on the same tangent. They are not at different angles from each other. There's no reason to think that whatsoever.
Say that again. I don't understand.
Okay. If you were on the other side of the Chesapeake Bay where that house is, that's your house, right? You go down to the shoreline, okay? And we communicate to each other Morse code, and you're flashing your flashlight at me. I can see it with my eyes. Your feet are in the water. My feet are in the water.
Yeah.
We are directly in line of sight with each other. Our feet are on the same horizontal plane or tangent or whatever you want to call it.
Well, no, that's an assumption.
It's not an assumption.
It's an assumption based on you assuming the Earth is flat. You must stop doing that.
Okay,
right? This is
stop. Listen to, you asked me where I would begin. I'm telling you the simplicity of the argument is I see you. That's it. I'm not making an assumption.
Well, what about refraction?
I see you.
Light can refract, and you can see me because of refraction.
No. Okay, how about this? I can't see you. I can see the light.
Because the light's refracted. That's easy. Why are you now denying refraction?
No. Okay, listen. I'm not denying refraction. I'm describing different levels of refraction. That is, there's not enough light, and my eyes aren't strong enough to see you. I can see the light that you flash because that's got a different intensity and different degree in terms of its ability to get to my eye. Okay, but I'm not denying refraction. I'm telling you that there is a simple interpretation. You're simply right there in front of me, 9 miles away. There's no assumption at all.
So how does that make the Earth flat or round? I don't understand.
You're directly in front of me. That's it. That's all I'm saying.
No, but what you see is a result of refraction. How does that make the Earth flat or round? I don't understand how that you can follow that conclusion.
Well, I'm not really sure how I can make it any clearer to you, CT. I can show you images of my friend in an inferior mirage.
But all of that depends on a refraction on the day, right?
Correct. But
so,
the abstract.
So how do you know? How do you know that the light is not bending in such a way that it makes a round thing appear flat? You're just assuming it's flat that appears round. So how do you actually...
No, I'm not assuming anything. Okay, listen to me. I'm going to say it again. I'm not assuming anything. I look and I see. That's it. I draw
That's an assumption.
That's not an assumption. See. That's
not scientific measurement. That's just you looking and making up your mind. That's not a scientific measurement.
So where do you get the prerogative to start labeling what a scientific measurement is?
I don't get the prerogative. There's been science. You have a mobile phone. How do you think they got the science gave you that?
No. This is a red herring. This is a red herring. I'm not asking or challenging technology. Okay.
Yes, you are. You're challenging the whole of technology. You're dismissing everything like GPS, satellites.
I have not mentioned technology at all. You just brought it up. Okay. The reality is, again, if I'm looking a mile away and I can see the shoreline a mile away, and I take my camera and I put it on video and I film and film and film and I increase the distance, I continue to see what's directly in front of me. That's not an assumption. That's understanding that what I see is directly in front of me. There's no reason to go.
What you see is an image that's affected by refraction. In all of those images, you can see by your own words they're affected by refraction. So how do you know that the image represents a flat Earth or a round Earth?
I don't have any data in my experience to make me question my reality in terms of understanding it as a globe. There's nothing in my experience that requires me to go down that road.
You don't have any data that goes the opposite either. So
yes, I do.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do. Yeah, you're looking at it right now. It's straight in front of you.
That's just a series of images that work perfectly fine on a globe. Now, I don't understand how you can think that makes it flat.
Okay, My argument with my observations is that the obstruction is always refraction. It's never the physical curvature of the Earth, okay? And we can demonstrate that with these observations, because once you go beyond the horizon in these images, where they're like the images on the bottom, you're not going to go beyond the horizon, because the horizon is the tree line, so you're not going to get any boats that are going to go up that high, because boats don't fly in the air. But if you, like the boat that's on the left, or I'm sorry, on the right panel, those men that are in that panel there, if they were to go farther and farther away from us, they would incrementally get swallowed up by the band, but they are still horizontal to me. They're not going over a curve. They're not lower than I am on an angle. They are straight out directly in front of me according to perspective. And the reason why I can't see them is refraction. The obstruction in that image on the top right panel, the obstruction, why I can't see their boat, is refraction. That's the same answer for your ship. The only thing that you have to understand is that you have a different dynamic. You can't tell me where the horizon is. You can't tell me what its distance is from you, or what that ship's distance is from the horizon. In order for you to make the claim that you're making, those variables you would have to know, and you don't.
And well, not in that picture, but that I can easily conduct an experiment that can have those values known. And then what would you say?
Well, yeah, go ahead and do it, and we can analyze it. You know, I can't say anything. I'm not going to project on how I would respond to you. I think that would be.
Well,
hold on.
I know how you respond.
No, you don't. Okay, I'm not. No. I'm trying to be as unilateral as possible, right? I'm trying to be as amicable in this discussion as possible. And to be honest with you, I will not tell you what I would say, because I haven't seen your data yet. So if you want to do that, by all means, let's do that.
But just a minute. If I had data and I drew a diagram, you would say the diagram doesn't.
Don't tell me
reality.
What I would say. Don't tell
You've
me
already
what I would
said
say.
it. The diagram doesn't represent reality. You've already said
well,
that.
If you want to, okay, I don't see it. If you have a picture that you can show me and walk me through your interpretation, I don't need you to draw me a diagram.
That's not because the diagram is essential. If you've got numbers and you've got distances to horizon and distances to ship and all that, without the numbers, it means nothing. Why do I bother measuring distance to something if you're not even going to take any notice of the numbers?
Okay, I'm going to say this once again, because I'm not saying what you're saying. My claims that I make do not depend on my giving you measurements to the horizon or to the distant shoreline, because I'm not claiming that there's physical obstruction due to Earth curve. You, on the other hand, are claiming that there is physical obstruction due to the curvature of the Earth. Therefore, in order for you to verify that, you have to actually measure physically the distance to the horizon, and then the horizon to the ship or the object that you are holding in contrast.
Okay, so now I have two problems with that. The first one is you are making a claim that water horizon is due to refraction. You have no measurements to make that claim have any reality.
I can show it to you right here.
No measurements. You asked me, you said, I made a claim about the horizon, I need measurements. You have no measurements.
I don't need measurements. I have pictures right here.
Of course you need measurements. I have pictures too. But you demand measurements for
That's
my
because,
pictures.
Okay, listen, I'm going to say it again, CT.
You can't just do that. You just cannot.
CT, the reason why I say that you are carrying the burden of proof is because you're making a claim about physical obstruction due to Earth curve. I'm not making that claim. My claim...
But you'll make... Why is this? This is incredible. You're making a claim about the behavior of light.
Yes, and
that's
I can
physical,
show you.
But you cannot do measurements to back up your claim.
I don't
you
need
demand
to.
measurements of mine. You cannot say I don't need to
give you measurements of light.
Well, then
and
I don't
refraction.
need to either. I don't need to either. Then if you don't need to.
Okay, we are not making the same claim, CT, okay?
No, you're making a different claim and you say, oh, I don't need measurements.
Right,
That's silly and
my
ridiculous.
claim, my claim does not require the same burden you do. Look, just look real quick, okay? Again,
It's
hold
exact
on.
same burden.
It's not the exact. It's not the exact.
You can say not all you like, but there's the exact same burden on what you claim.
No. Look at the bottom left panel. You can see straight across to the other side of the shore. The panel above it, you can't see it. That's all I need to show you.
Say, you have no measurements.
I don't need to measure anything.
Well, then nobody else needs to measure.
That's not true. You have a different.
Yes, it is.
You have a different claim, CT.
You have a different claim from everybody knows that the Earth is a globe, except a few flat earthers. Yeah. Now you are the outliers. You need to bring forward your measurements. This is what you need. This is how science works.
CT, it depends on the claim that you're making. I'm not making a claim that requires me to measure anything.
Of course you are. That's silly. Of course you are.
Okay, so what measurements do I need to give you?
You need to, first of all, you need to, like you said, anything measurement, you need to measure the distance to the horizon. You need to demonstrate that light refracts in a way that can cause the effects that you see.
And why do I need to measure that? Why do I? Okay, so go to the top left.
All right, I'll tell you why you need to.
Hold on, real quick. Hold on, just real quick, real quick. So the top left panel, right? We have a horizon. That is, we have a. It's actually not the horizon on the water, because the water is not meeting the sky. The horizon is above it on the land 10 miles away. Okay, so there's the horizon. The water line that we see. Why do I need to know the distance to that?
Well, then you can, well, first of all, that distance is important because it's all part of the mechanism of how the horizon is formed. You need to describe
the
that's
mechanism. The effect. That's the effect. That water is not causing...
Well, still the effect, you need to describe the mechanism where you can get an effect like that.
I can describe the mechanism.
Of a horizon.
I can describe the mechanism.
Mathematically, you need to arrive at a distance to the horizon based on some modeling.
Why?
So flat Earth modeling, because otherwise you don't know. It's just you saying in your head that this can happen.
No, I'm showing you that it happens. I'm not saying it in my head.
But you're showing it to me on a globe Earth. You don't understand that. You need to say that it's a flat Earth. You need to come up with some evidence, because we're looking at a globe here, and you're saying, I show you what happens, and I'm saying, well, that's just because it's a globe.
No, because the horizon is changing its location.
Well, that still happens on a globe. You can't say that the horizon changes and that doesn't make it a globe.
Right. So
you have to come up with an unbiased look and say, okay, is it flat or round? I'm going to conduct this experiment. If it was flat, this would happen. If it's round, this would happen. You have to have some science behind what you say.
It depends on what your claim is.
Any claim at all.
No, I disagree with
You're claiming the Earth is flat. That's a major claim. You realize how major that claim is. No, you are claiming the Earth is flat.
No, listen. That is a part of the dynamic of my rhetoric, but my arguments in the material that I'm presenting is not that it's flat Earth, is that the obstruction is never Earth curve. It's always refraction. Okay?
So what shape is the Earth?
So flat is not a shape. The Earth doesn't have a shape. Okay? We simply live on the ground, we swim in the water, and sometimes we can fly in the air. We simply live on terra firma. We can travel, we can go any direction we want. That's it. I don't need to say anything more than that. So, I don't. It's really interesting. I mean, it would be an interesting discussion to find out where this discussion of globe Earth even began. I don't believe that if you and I were, out in the what do you guys call that out there in Australia? What's that called when you're out in the sticks?
The outback.
The outback. If we were in the outback, we would just live. We wouldn't think the Earth was round. We would just go
Yeah,
from one
that's okay,
location to
but
the other.
that's okay. That's just a personal point of view, and that's okay. I don't mind that. But I mean, we do live in a modern world where we have science and flights and everything. So in order for the modern world to survive, you have to work out that the Earth is in fact a globe. Otherwise, none of your planes would arrive at their destination.
Yeah, well, that's not my argument. Someone else can go ahead and go down that road with you if they want to. My argument is making these observations over water. So,
But you
um,
can't. You're just making observations over. Well, that's okay. I appreciate your work, but
sure.
you can't. You've got to put some more effort into working out
No,
why it
you're
looks
putting a
like
burden on
that.
me that I no. You're putting a burden on me that I don't bear. Okay?
Well, the reason why, and that's why no one will take notice of you until you actually can do that,
Well,
because
no, simply because
you're just waving it away. You're saying, "Oh, I don't need to have any proof of what I see. I can just sit there and say, oh, it's refraction." You can't do that.
I can do that, right? So let's just close with this because I don't want to drag this on too long. We're
Right?
already over an hour. I don't want to take up a lot of your morning and whatnot. So, um, can you see this image here?
Yeah.
Okay. So I've marked out here where the inferior mirage is blocking the rest of the hull of this ship. Now, you made some statements in your video that I picked up on, and I said something to the effect that I think that critical think would say that he is seeing the entire hull touching the water here. Okay. Well, two things that I would say. First is there's an inferior mirage. So
Yes, there is. I agree.
right. So that's not the physical hull touching the water. That water line.
Not in that picture. I've got other pictures
Okay, I'm
that
not
you
talking
can.
about those other pictures. I'm talking about
Yeah.
this one.
So what? What's the point?
So the point that I'm making is that this water line here is not at the hull. Okay? So if we were to understand this dynamic here, that this water line is not curvature, the water line is produced by the inferior mirage. That inferior mirage covers, stretches into our proximity over 3D space. So that wherever this line is, wherever this water line is, from that water line to the ship, everything behind that inferior mirage is blocked by the inferior mirage, which includes more water as well as the hull of the ship. And if there was someone in a small little dinghy boat or whatever out here, you wouldn't be able to see him. Not because he's over a curve, but because he's behind the refraction. Everything in front of you is line of sight. That's the easiest,
So
simplest explanation.
I got a question for you. What in that mirage? I mean, that's very small, but when it's bigger, is that air or water? What do you say it is?
It's the air.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. So this is where, when I first started doing my observations, I didn't have any expectation. I didn't know what I was going to get, CT. I bought a camera, just started shooting. So I'm interpreting stuff. As a matter of fact, when I first started looking at inferior mirages, I actually thought that it was the water that was producing the mirage. Well, I have made it clear on my channel that I no longer believe that, and I'll go toe to toe with anybody who says differently. So my observations have driven me to these conclusions. I didn't set out thinking I'm going to prove the Aether band. I had no clue what that idea was. All of that has come out of my listening to the rhetoric from both sides. So I'm not only going to challenge your side, I'm also going to challenge my side, because my side, to a certain extent, isn't saying what I'm saying in the same way. So I'm stepping on toes on both parties. I'm an equal opportunity offender, you know? But again, listen, I don't want to drag this on. I think that we've had a pretty good back and forth. I hope that you have felt like I've allowed you to say your piece and not be too heavy-handed. So
You've been fair. I got to say, you have been fair.
okay, I
So
appreciate that. I
thank
appreciate
you.
that. Yeah, spread the good news. Spread the good news. I know that you did a response to me. I don't know that I'm going to do a response to you because it's just like back and forth and back. It's just over and over again. But I don't know. Let's keep in touch if anything comes up and we want to further this discussion. By all means, we can try to have another conversation in the future.
Okay. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I hope you have a great day and be safe.
We've got an ISS solar transit later this afternoon. I'm hoping to capture it.
Nice. Very good. Very good. What equipment do you have?
P900 with a solar filter.
Okay. Do you have? Okay. So what solar filter do you use?
ND 10,000 is proper
Okay.
solar filter.
Yeah. I've seen that. Okay. Great. Awesome. Well, best of luck. I look forward. Are you going to publish your footage?
Yeah, if I can capture it successfully, I will.
What's the conditions of the day for you out there? Does it look pretty clear?
Oh, it was before. Just have a look. Oh, not so good.
Yeah, that's no fun. Yeah.
There's some cloud. There's some cloud, but it might clear up.
All right, CT. Well, again, I do appreciate you taking the time to spend your Sunday morning with me, and like I said, I hope you have a great rest of the day.
Okay, you too. Thank you.
All
See
right,
you
man.
later.
Yep. Take care. All right, everybody out there. I know that Ali was wanting to maybe jump in, but just didn't happen. So. Everybody, thanks for being there. Danny D, I see that you're out there. Nicholas Brown, thank you so much for those 2 super chats. I do appreciate that. Math time, I saw that you got timed out. Don't know what for, but I trust my mods. So let's make sure that it's not for petty things. Everybody out there, if someone's being a little bit too, well, that's. Whew. Let me see this deleted message first. I don't beg people for money. I don't beg people for money on YouTube either. Yeah. All right, well, whatever. Mods out there, please make sure that you, if you do time out, make sure that it's only for abusive language or aggression that's just out of line. Okay, if someone's being a knucklehead, don't time them out, please. Don't delete the messages. So let that be what it is. What's going on, C4? You're late to the party there, Big Eye. Party is over. So I do have a debate later on tonight, which is why I wanted to end this stream because my voice is already shot. So I'm going to put the link for the debate in the chat, and we'll see how that chat goes, all right? Or that debate. Okay, everybody. Yeah, I don't care if my viewer count is only 13 GPS 2. The community that I banned is for Smurfs like yourself. So bye bye. All right, everybody. I am gonna wrap this up and maybe drink some tea or something like that.